This podcast contains descriptions of extreme violence, body horror, and adult language. Please check the description for details. Viewer discretion is advised. It's at this point that you start to approach your location. Your destination, I should say. It is precious few places in the city where the sky is visible. And to say it's visible here is once again a pretty big overstatement, but it is somewhere where the light filters in decently easily, at least at noon. And it's because there has always been a concerted effort around grow towers to limit the number of buildings contacting them. Because some of the things in there do need some amount of sunlight. And more importantly, they're such sensitive buildings in regards to what they represent from in a power sense. You don't want more access points than you can get away with.
As the grow tower becomes more in view and so on, as everyone's walking, Hyde eventually just goes, "Hey,
huh?
Hold on. We've been talking so long about the implications of all this stuff and what certain things mean." And their eyes turn to Vex. "We don't actually got a clue what you do. So before we go into what is probably going to be one of the most dangerous fucking things we've ever had to deal with, I think that's a little important."
Right. Sorry. She makes sure that, they're within sight of the tower at this point, I imagine, but not right there or anything. She'll make sure that they're, out of the way enough. She flicks out her arm blades. Long, almost praying mantis-like scythes that come out of her forearms. I'm pretty much just kill them before they kill you, I guess. I go in, dice them up. Try not to get too roughed up in the process.
Oh, fancy blades there, huh?
Yeah, if you say so.
You do note, looking at her weapons, that these, there is all sorts of different bladed weapons and everything, and in a city like this where cybernetics are common, it's one of those things where you gotta have good tools for the job. And to have blades set up in a way like this, where you end up with almost this kind of winged span using them with the praying mantis setup, you can immediately tell this kind of deal, if you're trained with them enough, they're tough to use. But if you know how to use them, they can have a shockingly large, area of deadliness, essentially. And so, you don't even have to, think about it for too long before you can kind of, envisage that this is the kind of thing where you could see Vex diving into crowds and essentially dicing up people's tendons and legs and stomachs and everything, and you'd be hard-pressed to really see a weapon which is more stealthily and cleanly good at taking out crowds without it being a straight-up explosion.
Yeah, you got a hell of a wingspan there. As she says that, sort of very I guess I'm not sure. I don't think excitedly is the right word, but like enthusiastically starts looking over the blades and exactly how they function. With one of her arms, right? Assuming that there's any of it left, we'll go and try and swipe the burger from Hyde, right? As she's looking, swipe burger, take a bite of it herself.
Both of you make me a roll.
Yeah,
See if you catch it. Of course, you are going to get your +2 because of your extra eyes still. Oh
Nope,
no,
right.
You are not on it today, man. You are fully deceived by the ruse, and sure enough, one of Ashura's extra hands suddenly produces a burger which you realize was yours, and before you can say anything, it's already halfway in her mouth.
Hyde was going to make a comment on the weapons, but upon seeing his burger snatched, his optimism gone, his fist clenches somewhat. Those were for my snakes.
Well, there's plenty left. Plus, I gave them a meal earlier too, so they're plenty full.
Vex just murmurs to herself, right, the snakes.
Yeah, Vex, I'll take this as an opportunity for you to remember the reputations of these two. If there is exactly one saying which is prevalently parroted throughout the entirety of the city, no matter what gang, it's don't 1v1 the Iron Asura. Because she has a reputation for just turning people into meat. And it's never... it's so rarely a real fight when it's a 1v1. And by rarely, I basically mean never. Single-targeted attacks which can just demolish people is very much what Ashura's got going on. And then when it comes to Hyde, it's very entertainingly often been tacked onto that saying, don't 1v1 the Iron Asura unless you're Hyde. It has been pretty much known that one of the few people who regularly, spars with the Asura is Hyde, and that is because Hyde is, extremely durable from what people have said and seen, and also seems to be able to go blow for blow by virtue of the snakes that he has, in comparison to Ashura's arms. He is surprisingly quick as well, and you imagine that's partially because of his enhanced legs. I will allow you to continue.
So, yeah, you got those pretty wicked blades there.
At this point, she's sheathed them and folded her arms again.
So, master of strategy, looks over to Hyde. What were you thinking?
We don't know what we're going to be encountering, so when it comes to me, of course, the Iron Asshole understands what I do, but I'm really effective at running after those guys who like throwing things from the back, taking out the priorities that they're hiding behind the main force. If anything like that comes up, I can do that. Though, he, sorta stretches out his arm a little bit and clenches his fist. I'm no slouch when it comes to just a bare-knuckle brawl anyway. It's not like... And he effectively, he takes his comb, right, twirls it around his hand. It's not like I'm that squishy either. And he literally, you see, the teeth of the comb, he, presses it to his arm, and it looks like they're actually, incredibly fucking sharp as they stab in. He, pulls it up, twirls it around. The snake, you see it, swallow the rest of the burger, and then the punctures seem to just completely heal over. And the blood that was there turns into more of that hardened, red scale-like material.
Yeah, they're gonna have to have some, crazy shit in there to, get through his skin.
Crazy shit's the Clay's specialty from what I've heard, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I'm sure we'll handle things. I doubt I'm much of a tactician, so I'm more than happy to defer to what you two think, but I'll just say it might be a good idea to, stay within sight of each other, obviously, but, split up a little bit while we're fighting, because I'll just say I'm really not used to fighting in a group. I'm pretty much always in a solo gig, so just try not to be, if I'm in a group of enemies, just try not to be anywhere near me.
Well, that's the case. We don't know what kind of freak shows we're gonna go up against in there. Exactly, anyway. But any of the real nasty ones, anyone that's like this stick in the mud over here, points back to Hyde. I'll see if I can rough him up. If Hyde's going and doing his usual thing of just blitzing the back line, then, he can do that. And, I can take things a bit slower then, I guess.
And with that, you collectively kind of acknowledge the plan of Hyde on backline, Iron Asura on any of the nasty big ones, and Vex taking out any of the groups that might pop up. You kind of silently nod to each other and agree on a couple other, smaller details and just familiarize each other with your actual capabilities. Before, a number of minutes later, you all turn and finally start walking towards the tower proper. As it comes into more close view, rather than being the base of it simply in the distance. After all, with the overhead structures, it's kind of difficult to see the entirety of it. When things open up that little bit more, that's when you see the absolute volume of blue azure butterflies that are buzzing around this tower. What has been previously normally windows where you can spot various UV lighting and maybe the occasional green leaf has been almost entirely replaced with this blue blur of, shifting butterflies, primarily concentrated towards the top of the tower. And, it's like, oh, whoever's up there, or whatever's doing this, they've got something going. Because this is not only just straight up not an insect you see in the city normally. This volume is just unheard of. And you see that around the tower, creating a perimeter, is pretty much a barricade of collectors who have formed a perimeter and are turning away a lot of various, civilian bystanders who are just trying to get a look at what's going on. And you can see that there is not a commotion, but a general buzzing and the sound of conversation and, boots and metal striking the concrete ground as there's various patrols. You see that there's lights which have been set up that are, in order to see if anyone can get a view on what's going on inside. You can see as well, especially you, Hyde, with your extra eyes and your sharp senses, you even see that in the surrounding buildings there are various gang members who seem to be keeping an eye on whatever they can get a grasp on the higher levels, even though there is a distance which, disallows them from making any kind of attempts to enter. You start approaching, and it's when the three of you are coming up to this line that there is this kind of ruckus that starts to emerge as various gang members who are, clued into the dredge scene start to spot the three of you, and this, chain of horse whispers starts to essentially, erupt outward across the perimeter, as you see that there is a number of people who start, either backing away from the three of you, giving you, space to walk up to the line, or even some of the collectors just, roughly pushing people back, being just move the fuck out of the way, and essentially just making it so that you can actually get to where you need to be. it's when you hit the kind of like perimeter that you finally are met with people who are not simply moving out of the way. And before you can say anything, you see one of the like people who's clearly in charge makes themselves known and goes, "Step aside." And you see this enormous individual, and you're fairly certain, just on first glance, that almost every single part of this man is cybernetic, to the point where you're pretty sure that the only part of him that has some flesh left is maybe the upper half of his head and skull. But even amongst that, you can see that his eyes have been replaced with cybernetics as well. He has an intimidating stature, and while his body is constructed to be humanoid, you can see that it may have been based off of either like an oversized bomb disposal suit or some kind of blast-resistant mech. It's like small-scale mech of some kind, but it's pragmatic to the point where it doesn't even pretend to have organs anymore. The abdomen and torso have been heavily armored but streamlined to just make room for the various like mechanical parts that are needed for movement. That gives his whole silhouette sometimes this skeleton-like quality, though that isn't to say that he is that he isn't incredibly bulky. He's built like a tank. But you can spot multiple parts of the bulk are various guns and weapons, melee and ranged, nested into various hard points in his body, or that are just intended to be held in his hand and holstered into internal mounts and holdings where they are kept safe. You gather that he must be somewhat of a big dog in the collectors, not because of the extent of his cybernetics, but because of the quality of them. They aren't the best stuff, but it's clearly, like, good stuff. You do note, most of all, that he must not be that big of a deal, because you don't recognize him, and you don't know his name just from seeing him, which certainly lends credence to your theorizing from earlier. He may be just important enough to look like they give a fuck without necessarily risking anyone important. And he gestures to the group in front of you to split, to let you in. And you enter into the staging area where there's a number of collectors with guns trained on the entrance to the Grow Tower. And he goes, Well, to what do we owe the honor?
Oh, you know, just going to handle the job.
The job, huh? Well, I won't say no to some help. Well, a lot of help. From 3 dredges. Really think it needs that much?
Guess we'll see.
Better safe than sorry, you know?
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Gareth Carnott. And he goes to shake your hands. If you accept, that is?
Yeah, sure.
There is the sound of metal on metal as he goes to shake your hand. When he shakes yours in particular, Asura, can you make me a roll?
Yeah, sure.
As he goes to do like a proper grip to like essentially test how you do up against his stuff. Yeah, you handily, you feel the, like, stupid, you know, pissing contest, which is, like, how hard can I grab a dude's hand when we're shaking hands?
Yeah.
And, like, you just give it, like, this one squeeze, which doesn't break anything, but very clearly, like, gives that creaking sound of, like, I could fucking tear your arm off, dude.
Yeah. Alright, calm down, War Machine.
Can you blame me for trying to measure my worth against your cybernetics? I have a little more than most people, so I'm invested.
No, I get it. Yeah, I'm plenty used to it by this point.
Well, let's get down to business then.
And he kind of gestures you over to a staging area that has like a tent and everything. And he goes,
Right. Main thing to know is this place is down to only one entrance. Every other access point is blocked off with biological material, and we haven't been able to get through it. But the front door, basically untouched, for the most part. Anyone that we've sent in hasn't come out, as you may have seen. So, I tell you about what's going on in there, other than the obvious. But anytime somebody goes in, it isn't too long before we hear the screams and squeals of whatever freaks are waiting inside for them.
We're really just walking through the front door. Vex kind of leans back exasperatedly.
He crosses his legs and splays his arms out on a big, like, very reinforced chair that's designed to take his weight, and he goes,
Yep, pretty much. Ain't nothing else to it.
You swear you see a smirk play upon his cybernetic face.
Well, kinda sucks that it's this obvious of a trap, but... Oh, I don't know, I think it's a bad idea, you know, she looks over to Vex and Hyde specifically, to go in blowing up the place. I've heard that from some people, so...
That's a point.
He kind of stands up and goes over to one of the tables and goes,
Bunch of the guys who ran this place who managed to get out won't shut up about making sure that the growing basins remain intact.
He kind of like shows you a few schematics, or more appropriately tosses them towards you, and just goes,
They're not on every floor, but a number of them. The lower floors won't have them since that's where we grow stuff like mushrooms and anything that needs less light or isn't as thirsty. But the upper floors is where they do more leafy greens and that kind of thing. Stuff that's higher maintenance. Stuff that gives a shit about soil quality, that kind of thing. That's where we've got the UV lights and the cutting-edge growing tech, including the basins. If you keep them intact, then there'll be some extra pay in it for you. We ain't paying you shit if you destroy it all, though.
Vex just nods.
Yeah, Roger.
Hyde gives just a solid and discerning like nod.
Right. Well, you need anything from me and the boys, or are we done here?
We can handle ourselves.
That's what we like to hear.
I assume you haven't heard or seen anything of the actual things we have to fight in there.
He gives a shrug, which is matched up with the slight whirring of motors that are used to do so. As he goes,
Nope, pretty much nothing. Anyone who's gone in ain't come out, like I said.
What about the, swarm? She motions to, collection of the butterflies. Anything on them?
Right, yeah. Those have been a problem. They're more dangerous and aggressive than they initially seem. We've been trying to keep them contained to the Grow Tower, but obviously since they're airborne, that's not really been going too well. But we've got guys posted around on the rooftops with, like, flamethrowers, that kind of thing, shooting down any of the swarms that get too cocky. But we've lost a couple guys even on the rooftops. Those swarms will swoop in and... Well, it isn't like they tear people apart or anything, but they've got a mean bite and they're capable of cutting through metal. People who aren't unlucky enough to get killed still come away with plenty of skin missing and chrome stripped. So keep your head on a swivel.
Got it, flying teeth.
Pretty much.
Figured there was something off about him.
Well, if there's only one entrance, I think we, got all the info we're gonna get. So why don't we bust a hole in there, huh?
I'd be wary, he says, turning to the two that are with him. Maybe less about the teeth, but more about the idea that they could be listening in. Never know with these sorts of biological things. With that in mind, he turns to face the entrance. You two really want to do this?
Do we have a choice?
He lets out a little nostril exhale, like a small chuckle.
Which one of us wants to spring the trap, then?
Well, that's the case. Our good pal over here, pats Hyde on the shoulder. It's pretty fast, maybe you can run past it.
He, cracks his neck. One last time before they head in, he cocks his head back towards, he said his name was,
Carnott is what he goes.
Carnott. I don't suppose you've tried taking out the good old megaphone and trying to negotiate with him, huh? He jokes.
He goes,
Guy who was taking care of this before me tried that, but surprise, surprise, no communication from the freaks.
Alright. Well, Hyde, near the front door, steps back a little bit. He takes his runner stance. And then almost looking like he's going to go for, like, a burst of speed, he literally just, like, gets up and walks in like there's nothing going on. He just, he just saunters the fuck on in.
Alright, yeah, no, and, you can all enter if you...
Yeah. Alright, let's make some corpses and nothing else. She, looks over at the Grow Tower.
Gareth, Carnott, as you all head in, kind of waves to you in a way which really doesn't match his stature, and he's just like,
have fun.
And he has this kind of shit-eating smirk on his face with the chromed teeth, which are part of his, fucked cybernetic state. But the three of you walk in, and you kind of reach a point where you put yourself on guard, if you haven't already, as you mosey. And there is this distinct feeling as you enter that things are a lot more calm than you were expecting. Maybe it's just because of the proximity to the main door that this is the case, but there is no immediate sign of just, like, I don't know, a bunch of idiots waiting to drop down on you and, like, slit your throats or something. And so you're kind of relegated to doing a little bit of cautious exploring, for lack of a better term. As you move further and further in, the flora, or whatever it's been twisted into, is denser and denser, and you kind of start to hear the squeak and crunching of this fungi that breaks underfoot as the three of you make your way through. And occasionally you hit these patches of, like, these strange red ones, which aren't red like mushrooms normally are, where they, like, signify that they're poisonous, but rather it's imitations of them, which have been grown from muscle tissue or connective tissue, something similar, and more of these fungi are growing off of them, clearly loving whatever it is that they're being provided by virtue of this strange, twisted, meatscape that has happened. It's not too long before you start to wind through what used to be various hallways. You see, meeting rooms where, people would discuss the logistics of things, and offices and such, all various levels of covered in this stuff. Some places are surprisingly left fairly untouched before you open the door, and you see, like, in a corner that, like, some of them are still growing, but the single thing that is a constant amongst all of the places that you go in is that the windows are covered in this slick and slightly pulsating flesh. None of it smells rotten. There is just this ever-present, acrid, ferrous, blood-like smell in the air, matched with the strange, musky spores of mushrooms. It's not choking, but it's unpleasant. Is there anything you anything that comes to mind before I carry on?
Vex is very much like, the way that she moves through this place is very much what you would expect. She is often at a crouch, moving quickly, quietly, very much peering around corners before going into any new rooms. Just trying to, in this unfamiliar environment, be on her toes as much as possible.
Sort of in contrast, right? Not like completely like, oh, I'm just sort of bumbling around and not trying to, care about anything, right? But whereas Vex is like, in constant stealth hiding mode, right? Ashura is probably moving at around a similar speed, right? Of, like, not just, like, blitzing on ahead, but isn't, like, actively, like, you know, going up against every single wall, doing all of that, at least, like, visibly. It's a lot more of, like, just, like, a calm sort of, you know, plotting kind of step by step as she, looks around, and if anything, observes Vex doing all of that look and figures she's got that, that side of it covered.
Hyde, are you kind of, like, heading the charge, in so to speak?
Yep. They're definitely going first, and they're being, you know, the thing is, while they're, obviously, they introduce themselves as like, yeah, no, I can take a hit, I'm good. They are definitely, like, looking, just around with all of their eyes, just making sure that there isn't anything, like, immediately, like, after them or going at them. Just making sure to be incredibly cautious.
Understandable. And, it's as you continue on that you eventually kind of reach this point where you're pretty notably quite deep inside the building at this point. You haven't gone up a level. You're still on the ground floor, but there's this kind of this point where the walls and the modern, like, hints of what this building used to be kind of fade away, and even the shapes of the rooms become a lot more organic, and you realize that you have essentially entered what used to be the actual, like, growing part of this floor, as you see that there is these hints of old bags which used to contain the mycelium of these fungi, which have since been split open and birthed from, like, some grotesque, you know, eldritch vines which are flesh and mycelium combined, and they create these strange and convoluted, like, walls and pieces of scenery which provide various levels of cover, and, you know, pillars which are thick enough to hide behind amongst this huge grove floor that used to be here. Various ones of them connecting to create distinct halls and rooms of their own within this giant room. It is through all of this quiet that you begin to hear a chittering of some kind, a moving, it's hard to say, but it's definitely movement. There's something here. Could all of you please make me a roll, and could Hyde please make me a roll with their +2 because of their eyes?
Sure.
Surely you won't roll a 1 again.
That'd be ridiculous.
Surely. Here's the thing, right? I'll make this one roll, and then after that I'm going to change my dice color. Alright, it's not terrible.
So that's a success, yeah.
Yeah, so the nice thing is, because that's a 6, it's a success. You just need to hit a 6.
It is because of your bonus that was a success, yeah.
So, all of you notice this. It's as you are moving through that this movement, this chittering, you realize that it's actually a muted ringing. And you all start to look around, and you see that tied around these various pillars of flesh, in an almost shrine-like reverence, are these strings of mismatched bells. And they, you know, they decorate this place to make it look almost hauntingly spiritual in a way. It's when you take note of these that you go, wait a minute, why are we hearing ringing? These aren't being moved before, and that's when you all turn your eyes to look into one corner of the room where you realize now that that's where the movement was coming from. And alongside of it are all of these bells, which are, it's brushing up against and it's jingling, and you see, just as you level your eyes towards the movement, camouflaged into the flesh is this figure, strangely feminine, but completely devoid of any kind of human features. It turns its face towards you, and there is this single unblinking eye that meets with all three of yours. And before you know it, you can't even react. It shrinks away into a corner of the room that you didn't even realize was there, just by virtue of how everything is blending together. And as it does so, you think you grasp the briefest instance of bells being tied around its fingers like these strange, like, talismans as it disappears into the distance. Well, into the hallways.
Sick bastards are inside the fucking walls.
Ugh, yeah, there's our little freak of a stalker.
Huh. Hyde says, just sort of tilting their head. Their eyes open maybe a little bit wider when they looked at them, but they don't really seem to comment very much more.
There's nothing to do but to carry on, and you keep your heads on a swivel, now aware of the fact that there is probably something hidden and camouflaged in these walls waiting for you. And I will ask for all of you to give me another perception roll, please, but all of you give yourself a +1 because you succeeded the previous check.
Yay, a +3!
Hot shit.
Holy shit.
Okay, well, with that good of a roll, I was initially going to only let you make this roll when we were mid-combat. Spoilers.
Wait, combat?
Whoa.
Wait, hold on. I thought this was Peace Chronica.
Our viewers have literally, their investment has come from the wondering, are they gonna fight someone inside this weird flesh labyrinth? Like,
I know, right? I can't believe I've broken the immersion. I'll go flay myself and add myself to the wall.
I'll become one with the labyrinth.
Yeah, become one with the labyrinth, and I'll tie some little bells around my fingers and then meld into the wall as suddenly I skitter away and...
Right, so, Hyde, so Iris, you actually got high enough to notice this as well, because I actually made this a harder check than normal. But Hyde, you notice, as you are moving around, that blended into these walls is actually an additional entrance, and it seems that it's been purposefully obfuscated for the sake of, like, basically hiding in. You have no doubt in your mind that there is definitely going to be something down that hallway that you've just seen, that strange little hidey hole, but it's going to be a tight squeeze. It has an effect. It's going to have an effect in the combat, which is basically that there's a limited number of people that can basically be in there at once. But we'll get to that. The thing that other people notice, including you, Hyde, is not the hallway, but instead, you realize that you are already confronted with an enemy. You think. You see ahead of you in these branching paths. There's a kind of like a left hallway and a right hallway, and off the left one is where the hidden hidey hole I mentioned was. But you individually spot that there are these strange flesh structures, which you realize now are like struggling and moving and almost trying to break out from what you could only describe as like some kind of cocoon of some form. And it's at this point that you see the eyes on these structures turn towards you. You see in the distance, at the far end, buried into halfway up the walls, are these strange structures with horrifying toothed mouths spreading across them in different places. They almost seem melded into the mycelium at the same time, but they start to slowly shamble down the walls, and there's a as they do so. But perhaps more disturbingly, you see in each hallway there is 2 more structures, one of which seems to be planted in the ground, and you realize the eyes aren't looking at you in anger or with violence, but in terror. And you realize that there is one of the collectors that has been sent in here, has essentially been planted and grown into this fleshscape. And he's still aware, but his body begins to move on its own as you watch his eyes start to shake in horror as he realizes he's not in control of himself. And last of all, in the bottom hallway you see here, is another similar soul, but rather than terror, you see him pouring blood out of his mouth, almost vomiting it out, and you see him trying to hold his hand to his mouth to try and keep it in, but it's no use, it's just absolutely cascading from his teeth. And amongst it all is a smattering of these horrifying looking poor souls, much like the other collectors, but far worse off. Various parts of them have been grown from, taken from. Some of their arms are almost down to the bone, skeletonized, and then regrown over with mycelium once more. You see that the cybernetics, the small amount of cybernetics that they had, are now penetrated with flesh and veins, and they seem to be dead, but shamble forth nonetheless. We're going to transition to combat. Hello, welcome to the break. We actually have a couple of things to discuss today during the break before we get into our normal shilling. Well, first of all, let me draw your attention to the screen if you're listening on YouTube for the fan art, as always. But yeah, let's jump in. So we're about to jump into a pretty intense set of combats, and we're going to be going into one of them pretty much after the break. And I wanted to clarify something which may be confusing or may just take the more sharp-eared listeners off guard. There is going to be a couple of points where one or two of my players, whether it be Soleil or Rosche or even Iris, where they will refer to an upgrade which doesn't actually have the same in-universe representation as the name of it. The most notable one being that Rosche with Hyde actually has the part cyborg, and has very distinctly made a point that their character is not at all cybernetic. But the main way that all of the cybernetics have basically kind of represented themselves in his actual character is pretty much through the scales and the snakes that we have been seeing in game. So mechanically, it is just a defend 2. It's a very powerful defend 2 ability, which is just his scales essentially. So you may hear the word cyborg in reference to Hyde, but he is not cybernetic, as a note. Similarly, also, Assassin Blade is not, we've not flavored it as an Assassin Blade, it is just, here come the punches. And there's just, a couple of places here and there where you might hear somebody, I think Soleil in the coming combat also uses spikes, which, mechanically, spikes are able to be used on only unarmed attacks, and it's a ranged unarmed attack, and it's kind of it's a little whatever, but we'd justify it in the moment. The main thing here is that I don't want to get anybody confused with the flavor versus the mechanical actual part that's being used, because there's a few places where we wanted to, I really wanted to push the idea that you can build whatever character you really want in terms of how they look rather. It's just a matter of reflavoring a few things here and there. The other thing to get into is we do, of course, have a couple of guest characters. One of them will be showing up who in the second half, who I won't be naming just yet, but will be in a few episodes' time. But let's all thank Dawes for the prompt that allowed me to create Gareth Carnott. Thank you very much for submitting that. And if you are interested in submitting your own characters that might end up getting used, this show is still in progress, so I may very well end up using them. If you jump onto my Discord server by finding the link through my Twitch, sorry to make you have a circuitous route to get there, but I want a few hurdles so I know that the people who show up really want to be there, you know? But if you want to submit those, we do still have the form open that people can actually, like, submit their prompts and such. Right, well, I've been jabbering for too long, so let's just get into the normal shilling. If you want to support the show, then you can do so on my Patreon. That is over at patreon.com/eternal_savvy. Again, that is eternal_savvy. For as little as $1 a month, you can get a hold of an episode ahead of time, so that would mean you can listen to episode 17 right now if you go over there and you support me for as little as $1 a month. You can send me more if you want to be super cool and awesome and rad and amazing, but even the lowest amount of $1 will still get you access to that episode. I am also on Blue Sky if you want to find me, if you want to keep track of, you know, when these episodes go live, or you want to send in some wonderful fan art with the hashtag Heart of Hope, and tagging me in it. It's the same thing of eternal_savvy. Pretty much, if I am somewhere, it's at eternal_savvy. I no longer have a Twitter, I should mention. I am going to be deleting that. Not that I was using it for the last how many years, but other than that, the only place where I'm different is my VOD channel, which is staying_savvy. And, of course, if you are one of the wonderful people who has submitted fan art that's been cycling on screen right now, thank you so much. I hope to see more, but I will be grateful that I have even received as much as I have. Thank you all so much for continuing to listen. Let's get back to the episode, why don't we? See you later. Bye-bye. You see them begin to move as they all watch you walk in, and it's at this moment that you realize the fight is going to start any moment now, whether you like it or not. And Vex, you surprise everyone. You are quick to the punch. Your AP is 12, and do I have Hydes and Asuras correct at the moment?
9.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yep.
Yeah, and you go pretty much immediately. What would you like to do?
Vex, just with a very quick nod to the others, is just going to take off down the hallway she just happens to be closest to, towards the enemies. So I can move here, I assume, by paying 3. So I'll be down with the others now.
Lovely. Yeah, you just launch off of your the ball of your foot, and you push yourself through. It's at this point that I'm going to bring up the mechanic for this particular zone. Due to the overgrown nature of everything and the strange pillars of flesh and mycelium which are ever present throughout this room, you all have access to the ability to take cover. So, should you ever find yourself in the situation where you want to, in response to an action being made against you, so a roll being made against you, you may pay either 1 or 2 action points in order to do hinder 1 or 2 on that roll as you take cover. So it's but again, it's only you can only do it once per round. It's not like it's not something that it's not each one of them once per round. It's 1 or 2 once per round. If
Understood.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Additionally, you do note that it is pretty difficult to move in this room. There is an additional effect, which is if 2 opposing sides are ever in the same square as one another, you basically like can't move past unless you pay extra for the movement or kill everyone. So once you are in a zone with an enemy, it costs one more to do any kind of movement, because it is just so easy for them to get in your way, basically. Right. With that in mind, next up is this horror in Limbo. You see as
guy,
you see as this shaking in terror eyeball levels its eye contact towards you. It's basically like watching as its own body betrays it. It is going to, let's see, it's just going to move towards you, I think. So that's going to cost 3. That is all he can do for now. So next up is going to be the combined turns of all of our resident dredges and the one that's vomiting blood. The one that's vomiting blood, you can, due to the rules of the game, you can see that it is intending to just delay its turn by 1.
I assume you two can go first, because I assume you'll probably just be moving.
Yeah, you know what? I'll start off with that just to start helping with Vex. All
right.
Vex, runs over that way. The other guy starts approaching her. All right, go time. As she, normally in this sort of a situation, it's pretty drastically serious and very yucky, right? But even in this circumstance, she can't help as a little bit of a smirk goes across her face. As she takes all 6 of her arms, right? Which, I mentioned it before when I was describing her appearance, but big, massive, bulky metal, iron, presumably, of course. But, giant, bulky metal arms that are, like, in places very, like, steampunky, cobbled together scrap looking, in the sense of, like, they're like bulk in that way, right? But in other places very like pristine and very pristine and noticeably and intentionally carved in particular ways. And in this case, all 6 arms sort of come together in front of Asura, their palms like at the wrists, all sort of meeting in a circular pattern, as within them at the wrists, each one has part of the curve of like a gun barrel, right? Which, when she puts them all together, form a perfectly circular barrel, and she's gonna fire a fucking blast at this guy from it. So I'll be using plasma blast. So we're gonna be going for that shit. As she does that, exhales a puff of like steam smoke out from her mouth, and let me just make sure.
Roll.
Yep, I don't have any inherent roll bonuses to this, so we're just gonna roll. It's plasma shots. Cool. All right.
You have some stuff to support your rolls if you need to, but no inherent bonuses.
Ooh, yeah.
Even your +2 is not going to do that, but you could, if you desired, add a point of bloodthirst in order to reroll.
We're early on enough, right, that I think I'm comfortable doing that just so we can get an early advantage. So I will.
All right.
I'll put a bloodthirst into my just my treasure. That's a lot better.
That's way better. Right, yeah. So, go ahead and describe the plasma blast as it lands on this thing.
Yeah. As mentioned, she, cups her hands together in this, clasped cupped formation, as with a burst of heat emanating off of her from the barrel, just like laser dynamite, right? Just flies out over Vex, over Vex around like her shoulder area, perfectly to slam into this guy's body with just like explosive force, like as if like a flare went off on him.
And as it lands, there is the smell of burning flesh and mycelium, and also the awful stench of what you can only imagine is hair as well being burned away with it, as this horrifying screech comes out of the guy. Him, like, true fear of just, this is not why he wants to be. This is not what he wants to be doing. He is genuinely in pure terror as this is going on. How much damage does that do?
Well, this is an unarmed attack 1, so it's 1 at base, but because of super strength, another +1 damage. So that's there. Because of my gauntlet, another +1. So I think it's 3.
Right. And is there any extra effects on it?
It is explosive and stagger.
Right, so explosive, fun fact, actually doubles damage, I believe. So that will do 6 to this thing.
Yeah.
I think against guys without locations anyway,
Yes.
it just doubles it.
This thing, you watch as, like, more than half of its upper torso just gets blown away and burnt into a bubbling grease. You see this horrified face just still looks up at you, Vex, as you see its throat gurgle and just go like that, just breathing in desperately into the remaining lung tissue that it has. It is still alive, but it is very badly injured from that. At the same time, because this all happens simultaneously, of course, Hyde and Vex, what are you doing?
Well, Vex said she was gonna go last, so effectively Hyde would look to Asura. Hold her down here.
I know what I'm doing, you just do your thing.
And Hyde literally just... He gets down in that stance and, like, almost in a blur of, like red speed lines almost behind him, just immediately bursts here, and then another kick, he bursts into the hallway out of sight of the other two.
As you move into the hallway, you see that there is a collection of those shambling monstrosities in this hallway as well. As they almost single file all turn to you, their slack-jawed, horrifying flesh faces registering that you're there and starting to move towards you. And lastly, Vex.
As this explosion smashes into this creature, sending him rolling back, Vex, in a twofold reflex, falls to a crouch. One, to partially avoid being singed by this explosion, but also, as she flicks her blades to the side, is going to then leap upwards and just take advantage of the fact that it is off balance and slash through him.
All right.
In an upwards motion.
Make your roll. I believe you get a +1 natively to this. Beautiful. What is the damage profile on that?
Just 1 damage as she slashes upwards through his torso. However, mid-air, Vex twists herself around and resets her stance and is just spinning like a fucking top, going to just try to carve directly through this thing and finish it off.
Alright, chain attack 1, let's go. Not quite. Do you want to reroll
I'll reroll that.
I believe you also get an additional +1 because you have a special ability that when you do a madness reroll, you do get that extra +1.
Yep, I do. I do have that. Oh, but it's just as bad.
It's at least not a natural.
That's fine.
It's at least not actually a natural one because of the bonuses, so you don't cause any issues by virtue of that. But yes, you go for the follow-up strike, but it's a thing of, because this is all happening simultaneously, the place that you aimed the second strike for, by the time you turn around to look, it's just been blasted away. It's just gone. And you're like, well, there goes that strike. And if you would reduce your initiative, I believe it's only 2 cost for that.
Check. Yep, 2 costs for that, so down to here.
It's low damage, but fast. Right, now it's basically fucking every enemy here. So, the orange horde of fucked up dudes is going to go 1, 2, 3. They're going to move up into one of the hallways, which could threaten to pincer you or Hyde, but they can't move any further than that. The ones that are in the hallway with you, Hyde, they they start to mob you. They start to throw themselves at you. They start to pile over each other to get to you, and when they get to you, you're expecting something like a claw or a bite or something, but instead, you see as they all start to simply exude this pus and throw up blood and just, like, coat you in viscera, basically. This is a spirit attack, so they're gonna make a roll, and if they succeed, you have to add a point of bloodthirst to one of your fetters.
I see.
So, that is going to be... That is a 7. That is successful unless you have something to do about it.
Well, actually, just to ask, right? Because I know that this is like a spirit attack, right? But can we could Rosche still try and take cover to hinder too, or?
You could, if you were in one of the other rooms. This is one of the few places where, because you are, like, single file, this is the only hallway in the, I should have mentioned that earlier. This is the only hallway in the combat, because it's a shortcut to the back line. There is no way for you to take cover while you're in here.
Yeah. I also assume that this isn't like a damage trigger, I assume.
No, because it's not dealing damage to you.
Yup, so I'll take it, honestly. I just gotta, and place that one madness on there.
Yeah, like, whether it's by virtue of annoyance or anger or just, like, being horrified and just, like, absolutely taken aback by this, you feel your needs to kill these things, to kill in general, like, just raises up a notch as you're just like, this is awful. I am not dealing with this. So these ones are actually going to move into your zone, Vex, which is actually going to fill up that area. No one is going to be able to move into that anymore until something is dealt with.
This is my ideal situation.
Yeah. This is, in fact, your ideal situation.
I'm so glad.
So they move in. That's pretty much all they can do because they are shitty legions. The ones in the back, you watch as one of them shambles down from the wall, these strange, twisting, sinuous legs just dragging it along at some kind of slow speed as it senses that there is someone who is essentially in this hallway here. That is pretty much all that one can do. And the other one is actually gonna just hang back where it is, but the last one, the guy who's vomiting blood, he's gonna move up as well into the hallway that is behind you, Hyde. Next up is Hyde, Vex, and some of the various nasties.
Yeah, I think we can resolve Hyde first, and we'll deal with their conflict after. I
will at least tell you what is intended to be done, because you get to know that information first. The other weird mushroom thingy in the back with the teeth is once again just going to hold its turn. And the one that's like half blown up is going to attack you as they inhale as far as they can. As you watch the remaining side of their body inflate with intensity to scream in some way. What would you like to do, Hyde and Vex?
I kind of don't like this guy, but what I think I am going to do, although it is somewhat unfortunate, is I'm going to actually use my assassin blade, and by that I mean Hyde is just going to walk up to this guy, or walk up to these guys, and just start beating the shit out of them with his bare hands. He the blood is like thrown up all over him, and there's just a solid couple of beats where they think about that. They take their hands out of their pockets, and then they just start throwing hands.
So this is you can use rapid stuff as an action, so that is absolutely fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
That is one off from being enough.
Can you support?
You could support with your forearm, and that would be enough.
Yep, I can support with my forearm, so I'll go to 4 initiative, and I'll do that. So I'll make it a 6, which would be 3 damage.
All right, that is enough to hit. Is there any additional thing with that, or is it just
chain attack 1?
Chain attack 1, right? Yeah, you deal the 3 damage as you. With each of these hits, these bodies are so fragile that with your super strength, as you feel the sinew of your muscles tense and like just fire forward like gunshots, with each punch, you crush a rib cage or a skull of one of these things into the sides of this hallway. And it's only the beginning as you go in for a follow-up.
Yep, and that's the 8.
Lovely. Yeah, no, you in the course of only a few seconds and it's wild that you just take these all out and there is just nothing left in front of you. Is any additional flavor you want to add?
Yep, as he effectively finishes up the last of them, Hyde's hands tense, covered in fungus, like mushrooms, blood, maybe some sort of mix, spores and all of that. His hands shaking. He looks down at the ground in front of him where some half-formed bodies lay, and he goes, I originally thought that maybe there was some beauty in all this, but this is just plain ugly.
And yeah, you continue forward. I believe it's only Vex and this horror who have not acted yet, then, in that case.
Yep. And as the numerous other tortured souls spill into this narrow hallway, Vex simply, yet again, adjusts her footwork slightly and becomes the blender. I'm gonna try to land an attack on the big guy and turn it into an area attack.
Lovely. I believe that's called Calamity, that skill.
Yep.
Yeah, you flick out the blades into your full width of the wingspan, and you fucking crit, dude! Let's go!
Oh, and that's really bad for the little guys because area attacks, I believe, do double damage to legions.
They sure do! So... oh dear. Do you want to pump that even further with a support from your forearm?
Sure. Yeah. So that's a 12. So this is doing 3 damage to everybody here.
Alright, so with that, the 3 damage doubled to 6, that is enough to just take out the group of that little horde in one. All of them in one fell swoop. It's overkill.
All of their fucking heads and limbs simply, as they run, go flying outwards back into the room with Asura.
Yeah. You watch that Asura as there is just like a singular jump, and with the you use the limited space in this fucked up corridor to your advantage, as you are just inescapable. And as you dash forward towards the bigger threat in front of you, limbs and arms and heads, they are all just disconnected with no issue, and you finally meet your mark as they drive into the horror in front of you, but not before it gets out this horrible wail as he looks at you, and he sees that you are about to kill him, that you're about to finish him off. You can see the blades on target for his brain, and what was previously going to be simply a scream for help is instead a bellowing screech of "Thank you!" And that is a spirit attack on you, because that's pretty fucked up. Let's make that roll. That is not enough.
No problem, she says.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
You just go no problem as it sinks into his head. His horrifying final words not meeting purchase within your morality. That is a fucking effective turn if I've ever seen one. Goddamn. Okay. Next up is Ashura and the horror who's been holding his turn. It it is once again gonna hold until next count. What about you, Asura?
Yeah. As Vex just, like, cleanly cuts through all these guys, Ashura's, like, upper set of arms does, like, a, set of 2, like, claps. Oh, that's what we like to say. Alright. Goes, takes another arm, wipes, under her nose, clears some, sweat, breathes in a little bit as she's going to step, not actually move, but step in the hallway here to, look down these guys. Oh, no, you don't. As she, yet again, is going to, cup her hands in the same way that she did before, aiming her sights, at this big guy now.
Okay.
And, with that, taking a firm stance, we're yet again, gonna go and try, Plasma Shot, except this time, I'm gonna be using Impulse, to make it so that instead of paying my normal cost for this, I'm just gonna add a, Bloodthirst to a fetter. I'm yet again going to choose my funny little treasure. I can support that with my forearm.
You certainly can.
Yep, and so, yet again, like last time, that's, the same attack, so I believe it would probably be another 6.
Yes, that would be, because these guys don't have, like, dedicated locations. Oh, you know what, actually? It does have something it can do here.
Okay.
This guy, you watch as, like, this incoming strike is flying towards him. He isn't able to, like, fully negate it by any means, but you watch as his eyes widen and this wave of bile and blood erupts from his eroded teeth, and it matches the trajectory of this plasma, giving something to burn away before it reaches him, and giving him Defend 2, reducing the damage before it's doubled. So I believe that makes it only 2 damage instead, as by the time it hits him, the temperature has lowered significantly, but it still blasts out a significant spray of viscera from his stomach.
With that being the case then, since this is a damage check right now, right?
Right.
I'll then use spikes, and we're gonna boost that back up to 3, so it's gonna deal 6 to him again.
Right. Yeah, in which case, I guess we'll flavor that as you basically have, like, additional, generators which can flick on, essentially.
I effectively imagine it as, like, she sees this, wave of viscera coming towards her. She stomps on the ground, lets out another puff of steam, right? Clicking and whirring can be heard, sort of emanating from some of her shoulders, as there's a rippling through all of her arms, and, like, a secondary wave, like a sudden, like, as if, like, a hose, right, has been, held up, right? Suddenly released as, like, a burst increasing of force compared to, like, the wave that was before, just forces this blast through the viscera.
Right. So, you watch as the first wave hits his stomach as a fairly insignificant amount of, like, viscera, considering this world's biology, scatters out from him. But then he looks up and there is a second blast that hits him squarely in the chest. You still see the cascading blood erupting from his mouth, but you see that he is definitely no longer capable of moving as he sinks to one leg, which quickly burns away as the plasma leaks onto it.
And just to ask really quickly, right? Because this has stagger, that decreases his AP by 1, right?
It decreases his AP by 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's pretty fucking crazy. He is literally just reeling from all of that shit. It's bad. So next up is enemy turns. The guy in the back, we're just gonna have him hold his turn again. The one who moved earlier is going to it basically gets a clear line of sight on you down the hallway, Hyde, as you watch this chittering, strange, like, mixture of fungus and flesh shimmy into view as it gets a direct line of sight on you, and there is this sudden eruption of just like effluvial pus that just washes down the hallway towards you. It is a shooting attack with explosive and a natural +1 to the check. That is an 8, which is going to hit your torso, if I am not mistaken, unless you do something about it.
Taking cover simply won't do anything in this situation. So, effectively, right, I imagine Hyde isn't just at the end of the hallway, he's kind of running down it, basically, right?
Yeah.
But, like, as this wave comes, almost immediately, his snakes come out, and, like, he performs this weird maneuver where, like, with one of them, he's at least trying to, like, bat away some of it from himself, but with the other two, he is, like, trying to just go over the wave and stick into the wall so that he is, like, at the very least above it, and I'm using my cyborg part to defend too.
Yeah, that you do that, and that is no problem. The damage is completely negated for that one attack, and that ability is used for the round. The shambling horrors here are going to move, let's see. They're actually going to move in behind you, Hyde. So next up is your turn, Hyde, and the one who is holding his turn, who, unsurprisingly, is going to continue doing so because it does not have a good shot on anyone.
I don't have a lot of great options here, then.
You can move out. You will just have to pay an extra action point in order to move out, if you want to do so.
Honestly, yeah, I'm down for that.
In which case, you see the guys piling in behind you and you just continue sprinting forward. It is difficult with the undergrowth, but nonetheless you push on as you don't want to get caught up, and there is a more pressing enemy in front of you. Right. Next up is Asura, Vex, and pretty much all of the remaining big beasties.
Yep.
The vomit blood guy is going to vomit blood at you, Asura. The one in the room with you, Hyde. Is it in the room with you right now, Hyde?
Is the horror in the room with us right now?
Yeah, it's just gonna straight up fucking do another big wave of pus and bullshit at you now that you're here next to it. And the last one is, I think, going to wait where it's at. Vex and Asura, what are you doing?
Well, for Vex, it's very quick and simple. She does trust the others to be able to handle themselves, but that thought is not really the one present in her mind, as after just eviscerating everything in her vicinity, she looks down the hall, sees that this fleshy pillar construct is still waiting down there, and just immediately, no hesitation, is sprinting towards it.
Meanwhile, on Ashura's end, just as a quick clarifying question, right? So if something, I know that normally, right, the idea is that if we're attacking on the same initiative, right, it's the stuff I clarified before.
Happens simultaneously.
Happens simultaneously. If I were to make it rapid, would it bypass that?
Yes, you would just supersede whatever they're about to do.
In
and if
which
you killed,
case,
if you killed them during that, they would not be able to act.
In which case, Asura, still holding her arms in the position that she had them from the previous plasma volley, just like flexes her shoulders, all 6 arms like near their bases at the shoulders or equivalents, right? Open sort of like valves, hatches, release steam release steam, and there's clicking as if like bullet casings were to fall to the floor, although in this case, maybe not entirely physically, right? As she effectively reloads, right? And using extra arms, I'm going to make it so that my following plasma shot is rapid, so that I can attack him before he gets me.
Lovely. Make it.
Bada bing.
That is a hit.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't even have to go over the damage. He had two unbroken parts left. You watch him begin to like summon up this bile and blood once more as it starts to overspill from his teeth, and you do that in response, as you can tell that if you keep moving at your normal speed, he's gonna hit you simultaneously. And in that last moment, you fire off the shot, and even if he can, you know, reduce the damage again, it doesn't matter. It nails him in the face, and the top half of his skull is blasted off, and the blood fountain that was going to be directed towards you instead shoots directly upwards as the esophagus no longer has a roof to bounce against.
Yeah, that's my.
Who wants to try to enter the room with me next?
Yeah.
Right. So last is the guy making the attack against Hyde. And it's not enough. Next up is the horde behind you. I think you dash out of sight quick enough that they just double back on themselves and they go back into the room. Next up is the one who's been holding his turn for a fucking lifetime. Vex incoming. It is firing at you with the fucked up thing. Oh boy, that's a crit! I get to pick where it lands unless you reduce it by 1.
I actually can't hinder him because that needs to be in the same area.
That is correct. Do you have any defend abilities? I don't think you do.
Oh, I do. I have a defend skill.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, what happens is this spout of acid and pus heads towards you, and you can see that it's been spending its time aiming. It's dead on target. It's heading towards your face, and I believe with the flavor, because it's regeneration, it does technically land, and you feel it burn away at your eyes, and take it away.
It burns away at her eyes, but if indeed it is only 1 damage.
Technically it's 2 damage, so you can reduce it by 1.
Alright, it'll reduce it by 1. Then in that case, I'll have it damage the jaw and eyes, and immediately prioritizing, the eyes being a little more important. Her insides flare to life, and almost immediately they come back even more bloodshot red than they were moments ago.
No, the regeneration takes hold, but you feel that your jaw, you got some of it in your mouth, and you can feel that it's basically reduced your tongue into a horrible limp, burnt crisp. But you also have to take 1 damage to an adjacent location, which will be your forearm, which will be your arms in this case. And last of all, Hyde, it is you and the thing which is trying to get you. Unsurprisingly, it's gonna try and get you. What do you do?
Hyde stares this guy down, and honestly, we're just gonna get, like, the snakes erupt from his body, and he just gets this glint in his eye as he's going to just fucking meat snakes this man.
Okay. I'll roll my attack and you roll yours. That is a hit, but only barely towards you, and that is a hit for you. Even with his abilities, he can't actually do anything about that, so that's gonna be a hit regardless of what he does. That is an explosive 1 attack. Do you do anything, or can you do anything to reduce the damage, or are you just gonna let it hit you?
I can, because, in the middle of this barrage, right, one of the snakes sees his mouth open, and I'm going to trigger Delight and Corruption to use Cyborg again, right? And to flavor this, it just goes and, like, fucking uppercuts him, jamming his mouth shut.
Very nice. Right, yeah, in which case it deals, once again, does 0 damage as you use your special ability to trigger that ability a second time in the round. Now feel free to go ham and deal your damage.
Yep, so that was the first attack, here is the second.
Another hit.
And then here's the third.
Another hit! Oh my god.
And because of my super strength, each of these do 3 damage.
Yeah, so feel free to describe how you tear this thing apart.
To even flavor, right, as he's prepping his blood laser, Hyde, with his just insane speed, effectively just gets one in on him. Immediately, one snake goes in, chomps on that arm, tears it right off. Another one goes straight for, like, his torso, puts a sizable hole in it, and then the third does that uppercutting attack to its jaw, as, like, his head almost, like, flies almost clean off from, like, the impact, but it's just on enough that, like, as the bile that was still going up, like, continues, it just sort of has nowhere else to go, because there's nowhere to project it, and it just sort of sits there, and considering that's acid, that's not very good.
By the time it's done, it is not recognizable, and it fades into the camouflage of the flesh surrounding it, and it is easily done. Right, so now we, if everybody could please add a point of bloodthirst, because we are going to a second round of combat. Right, so if everyone's got their bloodthirst.
Yep.
Vex.
Vex is just gonna, heedless of the fucking pain she's feeling right now as her body partially dissolves. Her eyes are almost gleaming with just how full of just bloodshot veins they are as she just keeps running forward.
Alright, you move up and you are in the same tiny corridor with this thing that just burned away part of your arm and jaw. Asura.
As these zombies come running back out the other end of the hallway, she, like, was already in the process of, like, you know, retracting her arms from, like, the cupped cannon position that she's had them in for the past bit now, right? Sees them, halfway through retracting them, puts them back in. Oh, you assholes done with Hyde? Sure, fine, let's see it. Line the bases, let's see if you chumps can take it better than the last two of them did. As she's just going to, yet again, from this range, I mean, if they just keep lining up, we're just gonna keep going for it. So, bada bing.
Absolutely.
Ooh, yeah, let's spend, let's gain a bloodthirst and re-roll that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Oh, do you think so?
So yeah, this is, you know, same attack I've been doing thus far, so it's at base, 3 damage, has explosive and stagger.
Lovely. Yeah, it, I believe the explosive will once again just wipe them out in one go.
Oh, look at that! That's so surprising!
You leave a hallway of singed flesh and piles of viscera. Right. Next up, Vex. It is you and this thing, which is once again bubbling up some bile and acid just for you.
Not if I carve him up first. She is going to swing her blades towards and into this thing.
Right. That is plenty to hit. It is going to roll to hit you simultaneously. That is barely enough to hit you.
I will now hinder that with my foot part to make that a 5.
How many damage?
Just 1 so far. However, I have my chain attack, and I'm gonna do something else if that's not enough.
Beautiful. Make your chain attack.
Oh, that might be enough.
Oh,
so with
baby!
Vex wears these very, very tall, just thick combat boots that go most of the way up her legs. She literally just, like, digs her boot into whatever, like, maw orifices this thing has, almost pinning it down as she just repeatedly carves into it with her scythes. So that's 2 damage to it from that.
And what else are you doing?
If it's still up, after she Hyde from even a couple rooms away hears her just through gritted teeth just hiss in anger as she's carving into this thing. But if it's not quite enough, I'm going to use my skill Unlimited Destruction to at no cost, once per round, I can simply use every attack I have. So I am now so her sight's not being quite enough in this moment, she just fumbles for the gun on her hip, presses it against it, and blasts it. Oof, not enough on that, unfortunately.
Do you have like an unarmed attack, or is that the part that got destroyed?
That is the part that got destroyed.
Alas. Yeah, you in your fury, you level your gun and you try to just simply press it against it, but it shakes you off. Using the brief moment where you shift your weight backwards to reach for the gun that's strapped across the lower back, it uses that opportunity to scramble out from underneath your boot, and you fire the gun, and there is the both of you, even though you're like varying distances away, you hear the sound of like a thundering gunshot from a very high caliber like pistol, but it unfortunately simply lands in the wall and creates a spurt of spores and blood. Next up is Hyde.
Hyde sees Asura at the other end of the hallway, gives them a small curt wave as, frankly, I'm just gonna like move. I'm gonna go here. Okay.
Lovely. You are now in range to give your support if you need to. Asura, Vex, and the enemy. Unsurprisingly, Vex, it is going to go for you once again.
I'm going to go for him once again.
Yes, and...
yeah, I'm just going to move.
Cool.
A 6.
You just start sauntering down the hallway as Vex manages to land their attack, and unfortunately I had to destroy the one ability which would have let them actually reduce that roll. So that is the beauty of the system. So that is a hit. That is another damage.
Alright, and she'll go again?
Not this time.
Hold on.
Oh, but now you can support me, right?
Hyde from behind the monster this time sees like, oh, Vex is going in for this other one, but this guy's anticipating it. And Vex, over his shoulder, Hyde gives you the signal, like, the other way. And then you're like, oh shit, okay, not that direction.
And, yeah, you do hit with that second attack, dealing another damage. Let's make its attack. That is going to hit your head, unless you do something about it.
How much damage?
1 damage to your head.
Well, if it's just 1... then I will defend 1.
Okay. Yeah, once again, Hyde, you get to see this time. You watch as it just hacks up a glob of acid. It lands in Vex's face once more, and you watch as the eyes once again bleed out of her sockets and into a horrible liquid. And she blinks a few times and opens her eyes, and they are simply back.
It's literally almost like as the fluid, just the disgusting like blood and acid just goops out of her face. It's almost like as they run out, there are just more there that have formed from it. Like her adrenaline is spiking to the point where the regeneration is working overtime. Even while you call out your supportive action, like, she takes the advice, but whether or not she really registers it as like words from an ally is something else.
Right. It's Hyde up next, but there's no actual room for you to go in and help at the moment. So what would you like to do, Hyde?
I have actually no idea.
You can just hold turn and just wait for Vex to carve this thing up.
That's true. I could just spine.
Right, yeah, just reduce your action, and it's gonna be this thing. It's gonna fire at you again, Vex.
I'm gonna attack him again.
It hits you again, but you just defend once more. You get to choose the location, though, so feel free to flavor that next shot hitting you however you like.
I think, honestly, I think it just gets her, like, right in the fucking, like, gut. And even that, as, like, what would normally be an extremely painful, wound, and she does, like, emit a, like, yell of pain, it still just regenerates, like, pretty quickly, back, and, she keeps slicing repeatedly over and over until finally I do that, presumably.
And there it is. Lovely, and that is plenty, yeah. It is a struggle, and man, it's quite fitting, I suppose, that, like, you're just essentially at this point, just like, yes, we're the more experienced dredges, and we're just like watching as Vex is just like, just die, you piece of shit, except it's like, because your tongue has been burnt out.
She's just grunting, yelling, shouting, as she finally digs her blade into a sweet spot and tears it completely into fragments.
Yeah, you do so, and it is finally ended. With the end of the combat, you may all clear 1 point of bloodthirst, thanks to your treasures. And you also can regenerate parts. The way that this generally is flavored is, or the way I'm flavoring it, I suppose, is normally in the original game, you essentially find and stitch parts back onto you, and that is kind of what we're going to be going for here, except I'm basically going to treat it as like, you guys have all as standard got this kind of almost a first aid kit, which really just mainly consists of a bunch of like syringes of pluripotent cells or repair kits for your cybernetics, that kind of thing. And you make a point of rationing them out so that you don't, use them all at once or whatever. You finish hacking this thing apart as Hyde and Asura kind of like make their way to you and watch you doing this. Your arm has a really nasty chunk taken out of it from the burn, and your mouth has obviously been like it's really bad. But with the combat subsiding and your body having time, you kind of stop and recuperate, and you're kind of huffing and hawing, and it's in this moment that this regeneration, which was previously just like in hyper adrenaline mode where it was like growing things back at hyper speed, it seems almost to now be like, oh, we don't have to like focus on negating damage instantly anymore. And you feel it start to like, you feel that tingling across your body that you're familiar with at this point, as you feel it kind of coalesce into your mouth where your tongue and teeth have been all burned away. And Hyde, this is pretty exceptional. This level of regeneration is no joke. Like, this is something that normally would be achieved with like having some kind of pluripotent cell packet on hand to, apply to your parts and fix yourself immediately. But Vex seems to have this natively, which is a pretty advanced mutation if you've ever seen one, and you don't think you have.
Hyde runs a hand like along his jaw as he like watches Vex's like pull itself back together, and he looks like his usual like assessing, discerning look. But if Vex is paying attention, it's not like a sign of, this lady's threatening me, or I'm looking down on you. It's more like strangely impressed.
Vex is standing there, blade still out, covered in viscera, panting heavily. Sees the two of them have caught up, glances back and forth, just unceremoniously sheathes her blades, stretches her arms a bit. This floor is clear then?
Seems like it. Everyone's okay?
Yeah.
Mostly.
Good.
Her voice and words are a bit strange as her mouth is in the process of coming back. She kind of scratches her face a bit. The blood in her eyes starting to slowly subside, but still certainly clear and present.